Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the culinary scene here at Roth Living. I am Executive Chef Ben Davis, welcoming you to this introduction to the most remarkable appliance, the Wolf Convection Steam Oven. So, Gus got some stuff going in here right now, so I thought I'd pull out some fresh corn on the cob. You know, it's summer, obviously, here in Colorado, and we have beautiful produce, and so we have some fresh Olathe corn that we've just steamed very quickly in the convection steam oven. Just one of the examples of the things you can do with this appliance. So we're going to finish this up in just a second, but as we get going with today's event, let me just give you a couple of bullet points to talk about today. First things is that I realize you're on YouTube, and this is something that you might be used to from watching videos and things like that, but this is a live streaming event. So if you have questions, don't wait. Ask, type them in, send them through to us. We're going to answer them to you in real time. You don't have to wait for a comment to come back. Just ask away, type it in. We'll get it directly to me, or if somebody else can answer it, we'll answer it for you here. So please ask those questions. I do think that makes the experience so much more meaningful for you as you're watching today's presentation on this remarkable appliance. So make sure you do that, and just also know that the link that you use to come to today's event will be live for you in the future. So if you want to go back, review the tape one more time, just click on that same link, and you can refresh something that I've said, or maybe there was something that was not quite clear enough for you and you want a little more clarification. You can go back and look using that same link. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to talk about this remarkable appliance. Everything that you can see in front of me, everything that's prepared and everything that I'll be doing in the oven today is done in this remarkable appliance, the Wolf Convection Steam Oven. So you're going to see everything done in there. It's just so many things that it can do for you. It will literally, I like to say this, it's the only appliance that literally from day one will change the way you live in your kitchen. So don't be nervous that this is something that you're going to have to kind of rethink everything you've ever done. No, that's not the case. You want to jump in, get one of these things, because it's really going to make a difference. So let's, you see one of the things that the convection steam oven did is steam this fresh Olathe corn on the cob. But you can also go one step further now, and we're going to not just steam it, we're going to roast it in the same oven, give it a little more flavor. So let's just get it ready to go into the oven and give it a little more flavor. I've just got some melted butter here. Just going to brush that on, right? Just give it a little more color, a little more flavor, right? Because no one ever complains about butter, especially on fresh corn like this, that lovely, sweet, fresh summer corn that we all love and we look forward to so much here in Colorado. We don't have the world's biggest agriculture, base, and we don't have that many super notable products, but this corn is one of them. So we're just going to use a little fresh Malden flaked sea salt on there as well. And before we put it into the oven, we'll just give it a little black pepper. We might need to spin it a little bit there, get some more on there, but you can now see it's going to do more than just be a steamer, because it can just be a steamer. That's the beauty of it. When you all remember having that pot on your stove and you put that funny looking flying saucer thing in it, you dumped your broccoli in it, you covered it, you steamed it for 6 or 7 minutes, and you had nicely steamed broccoli, right? Well, wouldn't it be great if you had a way that you could do exactly that same process, just pure, beautiful, clean steam, right? But you didn't have to wait for the water to boil. You could just put it right into the oven and let it go. Well, that's what the convection steam oven can do when you're talking about the steam mode, right? When we're just using pure steam, we're not waiting for the water to boil. We can literally put the food right into a cold oven, hit the steam process, and voila, instant steam, and now we're cooking our food. So now we're going to just pop it up right here, and we're going to go into a convection mode, because it can be that as well, just a convection oven, right? These are sort of the baseline modes for this appliance, right? Convection just gives you nice dry air, dry heat, right? So when you want to bake something or you want to roast something and you want a little bit of color, you can just go for that nice dry air in this oven. That's just the baseline of this. But where the CSO really begins to separate itself from every other appliance oven in your kitchen is that it can take both of those modes, steam and convection, and put them together so they're utilizing the best of both of those processes. So now let's just roast this corn. We're going to let the oven heat up. We're just gonna pop this in, give it a chance to roast. Let's just redirect it. So let's start. When we learn about this, we know now we have convection and we have steam. We just have two basic modes. But why putting them together? Why does that make a difference? Why will that change your life in the kitchen for the positive? So let's just think about the benefits of both of those types of heat. We obviously understand that convection heat is circulating hot air throughout our oven cavity. That's going to make that oven more uniform, more even heat. So when we need faster cooking, when we need a little extra browning, that's what convection is all about, that nice, dry, circulated air. But what about the steam? Because that's really what sets it apart, right? The convection steam oven is set apart by the fact that it can make its own steam, right? And let's think about what steam can do for you when you're cooking with it, all right? So a good example of that would be, when we want to illustrate how steam really benefits us, right, would be this. If I'm baking something in this oven down here and it's nice and hot, it's 425 degrees, maybe I'm, baking some turnovers or some puff pastry, something like that. If I simply take a towel and cover my hand, I can reach into that 425 degree oven, remove the food, no problem whatsoever, right? I'm not worried about that. But, right, that's the dry air. But the steam, right, the oven produces, we know that that's a max temperature of 212 degrees. Just like this pot of boiling water on the stove, I have 212 degrees. Well, I don't want to stick my hand into that steam, right, because it will scald my skin. So we have a question coming through. How long did the corn steam, right? Only 20 minutes to steam that corn perfectly. So a 20-minute steaming process to steam the corn. Again, that's from a cold oven. You're not waiting for the water to boil. You just pop it in and let it steam. Now, if you like it to be a little bit more tender, you like it cooked a little longer, you can extend that and make it go a little bit longer. But the corn process, right, the steaming of the corn is what we call, and I'm going to get to a little bit more about this later, is that gourmet feature in your convection steam oven, which are ways to cook in the oven without you having to know. The oven knows for you, and it'll walk you through the steps. So that's how I steamed the corn. I just used that process in the oven, the gourmet process, hit the corn button literally, and just let it steam the corn. But again, back to the steam. I don't want to put my arm into this boiling, this stream of hot steam, because that could scald my skin. That could do some real damage, right? 212, 425, right? So what is that teaching us? What is it teaching us about how steam transfers heat? It actually transfers it far more efficiently than dry air. So if I can use steam, not only am I gaining the benefits of the moisture that the steam provides, but I'm also cooking faster because the heat is transferring much more efficiently, and therefore I'm going to cook a lot faster. And that's what it's all about. It's not like a microwave where you're using some kind of, beams to cook it from the inside out. No, it's just using beautiful, clean steam with dry air combined together, and now we're getting the best of both worlds, right? So we'll explain a little bit more about how it works together when we talk about the convection steam mode, but just know this oven can produce its own steam, couple it with that dry air, and voila, you have really, really fast, efficient ways of cooking. So you're saying to yourself, okay, steam, we need water. Where does the water come from? How is the water added to my oven? How is the Wolf's convection steam oven make its own steam? Very, very simply, and I think one of the more intelligent things about the way this design is made is that you don't have to open the oven door to add water. You just add water to a reservoir that's here, right, contained in this drawer, and you just slide open this drawer, and you can see the drawer behind it, and you just fill this drawer with water from your kitchen tap. There is no reason for you to go out and buy special demineralized, deionized, any kind of special water. No, you just want tap water, because that'll make your oven function in the best possible way. You slide that drawer in, and now your oven can make its own steam for about 2 to 2.5 hours of continuous steaming. So if you've got a lot of something that you need to steam, right, for over a long period of time, you can go for 2+ solid hours of just pure steam. So while you're cooking all your vegetables or whatever it might be, right, you can create that steam. Now, what if you run out of water in the middle, right? Maybe you're out of the room, but you knew that your asparagus was going to have to steam for another 10, 5 to 10 minutes, right? But you had to step away to go on the phone or something like that. The beauty of this oven is when it runs out of water, right? When there's no water left in the reservoir, the oven can't obviously make steam when there's no water, and we don't want it to do that because that might damage the internal componentry. So what does it do? It pauses your timer. It also ejects the drawer, gives you a little chime, gives you a visual message, and it just waits for you to come back and refill this reservoir, and then it'll just pick right up where it left off. And provided you haven't opened the oven door, you're not losing any humidity, you're not losing any heat, so it's going to keep gently cooking that food that you're in the middle of doing, but it's not going to try to make steam when there's no water present. So it's got a lot of nice features like that. When you're making steam, it will take care of you, right? It'll be there to make your food come out just beautifully, all right? So steam, created by itself, using when combined with that convection heat, gives you a lot of choices in this oven. You have basically 6 different ways that you can cook in this oven. We've already talked about just steaming, like we've done with the corn. We're talking about convection cooking, right? Baking, like we're now roasting the corn using convection. Also these bagels baked in the convection mode after they were steamed in the oven. No boiling of the bagels. No, we simply steamed them and then baked them right in the same oven. Creme caramel, steamed in the oven, just using pure steam, right? So you've got those 2 baseline modes, but then you get into those modes where you can really start doing some really fun stuff. And that's the convection steam mode, where you know there's going to be steam present throughout the process to help you accelerate the cooking, right? Because we talked about how efficient water is at transferring heat energy, right? We can control that temperature so that we can do a lot of different things in there. Everything from doing something nice and slow and low, like these Korean-style baby back ribs that we've just used the convection steam mode, right, to just give these a nice slow roasting. Now, what do you think slow roasting would mean in this oven, right? Well, if you would normally cook the ribs in your conventional oven for maybe 2.5, maybe 3 hours in order to get them nice, tender, falling off the bone, in the convection steam oven, by using that convection steam mode where we're benefiting from steam being present throughout the whole process, a nice consistent temperature at about 265 degrees. Now it takes 1 hour and 15 minutes to take the ribs all the way down so they're literally just falling apart off the bone, just beautifully tender, but also moist. That's the real key here, is that not only is it accelerating the cooking process, but it's adding that steam, which is keeping your ribs beautifully moist throughout the process. So again, faster, more moist, but still getting that lovely color, that glaze on the top. That's where the convection steam oven can really excel as we use that convection steam mode, right? You can use it for a number of things. You can use convection steam mode for baking a cheesecake, for roasting, again, slow roasting meats, but also maybe you want to brown some chicken breast. Maybe you've got making a fresh batch of chicken Parmesan. Go ahead, bread your chicken breast the way you normally would, but then don't fry them in hot olive oil on the stove. No, simply align them on one of the racks that comes with your oven. Put them in the convection steam oven at a very high temperature, maybe 425, 440, and now you get nice, crispy, golden brown chicken breasts, moist from the steam, all of those benefits coming out, and it cooks in such a quick amount of time that you'll be amazed how quickly you could have that meal on the table. So convection steam just gives you all this wonderful breadth of things that you can do using steam to its most beneficial effects. So, convection steam. We also have a mode in there called convection humid. Funny name. What do you use convection humid? It literally sounds like you're walking around on a hot day in Houston with a pan in front of you and you're trying to cook it in this warm, this kind of moist environment. What does that mean? What does convection humid mean? Well, convection humid is unique in that convection humid mode, the steam is not made by the oven. The steam is made by the food that is being prepared in the oven, and the oven holds on to it, right? The oven holds that steam in the oven so that you're not losing that moisture from the food that's being baked. Someone was asking, what mode did I use for the ribs? Convection steam. That is the mode where both convection and steam used together, both heating sources used together. So now we can get the benefits of both, right? Convection steam, fantastic mode to use in your oven for all sorts of things. The ribs are just one example. Like I said, you can do cheesecakes, you can do so many things using the benefit of steam, whether it's a moisturizing factor, it's an accelerant on the cooking, all of the benefits that steam provides, but also then there's that dry air, there's that dry heat. That's where the browning comes from, right? And now I know it sounds a little counterintuitive that you could brown something where there's water present, but remember that as the oven is being used, the steam is produced the entire time. So now it's doing the cooking before the oven has even reached the preheat temperature. It's getting hotter, but the steam is there, so it's moisturizing, it's cooking it from the inside, right? It's cooking the inside, right? And then it gets to that higher temperature, and now the heat takes over, and so the browning starts once that high temperature is attained, which is what's beautiful about convection steam. So again, that's what we use to cook the ribs. We use convection steam mode. Just like I said, an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes total cooking time from a cold oven to the finished product all the way through. So again, convection humid, oven's holding the heat or the steam that is produced by the food that's being cooked. It's not making its own steam. It's holding on to that moisture. What would we use that for? Well, think about those things that you could dry out if you overbake them. Muffins, maybe a bundt cake, right? Maybe a banana bread, some of those nice quick breads that if you bake them a little too long, they might get a little dry, a little crumbly, but you don't want them to be underbaked because you don't want them to be gooey, right? So if we use convection humid, there's a lot of moisture in those batters. So we're storing that moisture, we're keeping that moisture in the oven so that our item stays a little bit more moist, but it still browns and cooks completely through, bakes really, really nicely. So that's one of the beauties of convection humid. The other thing for convection humid is that by holding that moisture in there, we're very unlikely to dry out things like roasting a chicken or things like that. So, one of the beauties of using, one of the questions we've got here is that, is it true that you can't transfer heat flavor, right, between two items if you put them in the same oven? It's true, especially when you're using the convection modes, right? When you use convection mode by moving the air throughout the oven cavity, right? Moving air doesn't transfer flavor, right? Still air does. So if you're just baking in an oven with no convection system whatsoever, you can transfer flavors from one item to another. Like if you were roasting broccoli, but you had thrown in, some apple turnovers. They might taste a little bit the same, right? There might be a little bit of that broccoli flavor on your apple turnover. But when we use convection, right, when we add convection to it, the movement of the air, right, helps prevent that flavor from transferring from one thing to another. So that's one of the benefits of convection. Obviously, in this oven, convection is always employed except when we're using the steam mode, right? We're not having the fans running when we're using just pure steam. It's just using steam to cook the food, right? We're not using the convection system. So again, convection humid, another way in here. And for those of you out there who might be interested in sous vide cooking, now, it's not a lot of people that I run across who are really, really into whole sous vide method of cooking, but it's a great way to cook because you can guarantee very precise internal temperatures on meat, fish, poultry, all sorts of different things, right? You can have a sous vide mode in your convection steam oven, so you can use the steam, right, to slowly cook the food in a sealed environment, whether it's a vacuum sealed bag, or it could even be a Ziploc bag or a silicone bag. It cooks it to an exactly precise temperature. Remember, the concept behind sous vide is that the food that you're preparing, its temperature can never exceed the temperature of the environment in which it is being cooked, right? So if you set your oven at 135 degrees using the sous vide mode, right? The steak that you're roasting in the bag in that sous vide mode can never exceed 135 degrees either. So now you can pre-cook those steaks so they're a perfect medium rare, take them out, flash them on a hot barbecue, maybe in a hot cast iron skillet, on the Wolf infrared griddle, give it a quick flash, and voila, perfectly cooked steaks, all done to your exact specification. Yes, it takes a little more time, but the trade-off is you're not worried. You're not stressed out about, oh, maybe I overcooked this or undercooked that. So it is a really fun way to cook. Sous vide is just one of the other modes that you get in your convection steam oven, which will allow you to perform those tasks, those techniques, right? And I always like to say that, you know, if you can give somebody an appliance, right, that does more than one thing, right? It's not just a single-use item. A sous vide cooker, if you put it on your counter, that's all it'll ever do. It's not going to do anything else. Just like an air fryer, if you have to put that on your counter, it does just one thing, right? But you can do that same process in some of these other appliances. So beauty of a convection steam oven, it's more like a Swiss Army knife. Now it can do so many different things, right, without having to have all these other various and sundry appliances cluttering up your life, right? Let's make it streamlined, let's make it clean, and put it right here. You know, one of the beauties of the convection steam oven, right, is that you can add it into your kitchen suite, right? Stack it with a traditional convection oven underneath it. We're going to make sure that we trim it so that they look almost like a single unit, right? You're looking at a unit that, you know, two appliances that look like they were built together as one, but they're actually independent. So whatever style you like, whether it's the professional style like the one behind me here, maybe you like one that's more contemporary, that has a handle that retracts and gives you a completely clean and flat look, or maybe you'd like something a little more traditional and a transitional style, which is a little bit less bulky than this, but we have all of that involved, or all of that available to you, so you can trim it to match whatever style that you particularly want for your kitchen, right? Okay, so now you look at this oven, you say, well, okay, looks like about a standard width. It is a standard. This is a 30-inch width of this oven. This oven is actually, though, not 30 inches wide. This is just trimmed to look 30 inches. The oven itself is actually as wide as your standard microwave, only 24 inches wide. So there we've got a little roast on our buttered corn, so we're just going to set that out here. So we've got our corn, give it a little more flavor, a little more roast. And you could obviously take it a little bit longer, but I don't want it to start to dry out at all, right? Because I'm just using convection to brown that up, right? So now we have all these items. So again, trimmed, it's only a 24-inch width here, right? So if you're thinking to yourself, well, 24 inches, that's not very big. What can I cook in there? How much can I cook in there? 20-pound turkey, need to cook it? No problem. Whole prime rib, not a problem. 3 individual beef tenderloins roasted together, not a problem. All of that can fit in this oven. It does a lot more than you think it will in that small 24-inch cavity. So don't be dismayed if you think, oh, it's not big enough, I won't be able to do all my Thanksgiving preparations in there. No, 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 no. You can easily do all your sides in here while you're roasting a turkey in a larger oven. Or you could roast a smaller turkey in that and use your bigger oven for the sides. You really have whatever you want to do. The choice is really yours. But it really does a lot more in this cavity. It comes with a temperature probe, so that if you need that precise and exact temperature on the inside of your prime rib or on your roasted turkey so you don't undercook it or something like that, you have a probe that comes, displays, is very, very accurate so that you can, down to a single degree, set that temperature and it will alert you. It'll actually even reach a probe temperature, and then in certain modes it will actually turn the oven off and rest that meat for you, right? And that's where we find those items in the gourmet section. You know, the gourmet section in the Wolf vernacular is all about the oven has pre-programmed processes built into it that will allow you to literally walk it step by step by step, so you don't have to know exactly how to cook it. The oven might know how to cook it, and it'll walk you through and tell you exactly how to do that. So the gourmet section, over 150 different processes. The question I've got here is, why wouldn't I use the convection steam to brown the corn? Well, I wanted to make sure that you can see that that gourmet section, right, that gourmet feature, right, will steam the corn, right, because that's the gourmet setting, will steam the corn, right, but then to brown it, I just wanted to use a little bit of the convection system so that it will stay just a little bit more color, a little bit more of a glaze, and less of a roasted process, right? So yes, you could roast the corn using the convection steam mode, but I do think that you could still, even with the steam present in there at that high temperature, this would ensure me to keep the corn a little more moist by steaming it and then doing a little bit of a browning effect using the convection system. But you could do it with just convection steam. I think you just have to be a little bit more cognizant of not overdoing it, because the convection steam is pretty powerful in terms of that. So that's how I did it this time for the corn. All right? So I hope that answers the question. Gourmet, right? 150 different processes. Everything from just basically literally blanching spinach to roasting a whole prime rib, right? Taking a prime rib from start to finish all the way through, allowing you to program the oven so that your prime rib is cooked to your exact specifications and done at the exact moment that you would like it to be cooked, right? So in other words, for your dinner planning, right? You might have a dinner party, you'd like to serve your prime rib at 7 o'clock, right? You can literally program a convection steam oven to cook your prime rib to your exact internal temperature, right? Whether it's medium, medium rare, whatever it might be. Cook it to that, be done at exactly 7 o'clock. And then what will you need to do at 7 o'clock? Nothing except open the oven door, remove the roast from the oven, place it on your cutting board, and slice it. There is no resting involved because the oven has done it for you through that gourmet feature. It has allowed you to roast it to your exact temperatures, to the exact time. It's done when you need it at that moment. So for planning, how much easier is it to plan your side dishes, right? Because most of those can be held in a warmer or in on a stove or whatever it might be. And then you don't have to be guessing when your roast is going to be done. You're going to know exactly when it's going to be done because the convection steam oven allows you to program it so that that can happen, right? And here's the other beauty of a convection steam oven, because this technology, right, the technology that went into this oven, which is taken from commercial appliances, from combination steam ovens that were in huge banqueting facilities, hotels, cruise ships, aircraft carriers, hospitals, all of those things use the convection steam technology to prepare large amounts of food in a very moist and controlled environment, right? So they can cook a lot at one time and then hold it until it's ready to be served, right? You know that you go to a big wedding and there's 400 or 500 people at that wedding. They're not cooking that food to order. They're making it ahead. They're preparing it, and then they're serving it. The convection steam oven allows them to do large quantities of food like that and then hold it. So when you get done with your prime rib and you wanted it at 7, right? At 7 p.m., but you've had such a lovely time not, having your hors d'oeuvres that you're getting a little past 7 o'clock. Don't worry. The oven will hold it for you. It won't let it cool off. It won't let it dry out, and it won't let it overcook. It'll hold it at that exact temperature until you're ready to take it out and serve it and slice it. So one of the questions is, does steam allow you to begin with a frozen protein, right? So in other words, if you had a frozen chicken breast, could I take a frozen chicken breast, throw it in here, and expect it to be perfectly cooked all in one fell swoop? The answer to that question is, well, kind of. And I don't mean to say that you can't do it, but what I would recommend is that you use the convection steam oven to defrost the frozen food first. And if you think that's going to take a long time, it won't. It will take you probably somewhere between, let's say if we're talking about 3, 4, 5 chicken breasts, let's talk about maybe 15 to 20 minutes to defrost it, right? In a controlled, safe environment. We're not cooking it like a microwave defrosting setting oftentimes does, where it cooks parts of it. No, we are going to defrost it first, and then we're going to cook it. There is no way in this oven to say, program it to say, my chicken is frozen, please start it from frozen and cook it until it's done, right? You can only, you could try that, but it's not going to work. The programming in the gourmet feature, if you're talking about chicken breasts or things like that, is assuming that the item is fully defrosted. It's not starting from a frozen setting. However, using this oven as a defrosting tool is vastly superior and faster than using a microwave because A, you're never going to have partially cooked food like a microwave will do. It's much faster than doing it in the sink or certainly defrosting slowly in the refrigerator. You can defrost in a very safe, controlled manner using the convection steam oven so that your food really tastes like and acts like it was never frozen in the first place. So that really does make it very advantageous to use, but it doesn't have the ability to realize that a food is actually defrost or is frozen and then cooking it from that point. There is no defrost mode in this oven. You can create your own, and one of the beauties of, you know, everyone being sort of in our Roth sphere of influence is that in your training that we will provide, right, should you decide to put a convection steam oven in as part of your kitchen suite, we will train you, as the chefs in the company will train you as to the use and care of this product. And that's one of the things that we like to teach everybody, is how to create your own defrost setting. It's very, very easy to do. Can be saved as a favorite, which is basically your personal ways of cooking, whether it's a recipe, whether it's a defrosting setting, whatever it might be, you can save that. So it's literally almost a one-touch sort of process where you simply hit favorites, defrost, and then it just takes over from there and does the defrosting for you. So there is not a true defrost mode, but by using steam at a low temperature, you can defrost quickly and safely in the oven without any hassle whatsoever. So that's how I create a defrost setting. All right. So again, in that gourmet setting, so many different things, 150 different processes. Like I said, everything from steaming vegetables, roasting meats. If you are into canning and preserving, you have the modes to allow you to preserve and prepare and preserve your jelly jars or whatever it might be. So you can do some of the home canning in the oven. The other thing that's really remarkable in the gourmet setting is that there is a setting in the gourmet feature called More Gourmet. I jokingly call that the Jetsons setting, because if you're of my age, you remember back in the 60s and 70s, those cartoons with the Jetsons where they would literally press a button and the food would just kind of drop out on the bottom of on a plate, right? Well, it's not quite that, but it's close, right? And what does that mean? Well, the sensor system in this oven, in the gourmet settings, allow you to tell the oven what it is you're cooking. Example might be scallop potatoes. Right? I want to cook some scallop potatoes. Then you tell the oven how you would like them to look. In other words, how dark would you like them to be? How well cooked would you like them to be? You tell them that. So the oven now knows two things. It knows what it is you're cooking and how you would like them to look in the end. What it doesn't know is how big that item is. Well, you don't have to figure that out, because the oven's going to figure it out for you. You're literally going to take your pan of scallop potatoes, however you prepare it, whether you do it, you know, sort of the Alsatian style with just some broth and some onions with no cheese, no butter, no cream, or you do it more of a classical style. Maybe you put some cream and butter and milk and all sorts of things in there, right? You just pop it in there, right? You hit the potato gratin setting, and then the oven will ask you how you want it, and then it's going to stop, it's going to pause, and it's going to do a calculation. And it does that calculation by reading the temperature of the oven, raising the temperature of the oven a certain number of degrees, by calculating the time it took to go from temperature A to temperature B. It can now approximate the mass of the food that is in the oven, and it sets the time, determines temperature, the addition of steam, and all of the other variables that you wouldn't know how to program into the oven, but the oven knows what you're cooking, how you like it, and now it knows how big it is, so it can fill in all the holes, and voila, you get perfectly cooked scalloped potatoes without any trouble whatsoever. And it will give you a time, right? It'll tell you when to expect them to be done. So it's not like you're just going to be standing there and it's going to all of a sudden say they're done. No, you're going to know in advance it's going to take 38 minutes or whatever it might be. But that's one of the beauties of this oven, is it has that ability to do calculations for you. So if you're unsure, right, and this is why I say there's not a huge, right, you don't have to rethink everything you've ever done. In certain cases, you can take a standard recipe that you've made for years and years and years, and if it's similar to anything that's programmed into the oven, it will cook it for you, and it'll cook it really well. I've had great success with all of those gourmet and more gourmet modes in the oven, right? So many of you may be wondering, it's like, okay, how hard is it to clean, right? I mean, does it have a self-cleaning feature, right? Well, it doesn't really need one, right? It doesn't have one, and it doesn't need one because of the the steam setting in the oven. The steam is going to do a lot of the cleaning for you. So when I have the oven here like this, and I have a little bit of this, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of like accumulated grease or something like that that's on the floor of the oven, right? How do I clean it? Well, it's very simply done. You simply turn the oven into the steam mode, give it a few minutes of nice, hot, refreshing steam, and then that will allow you to wipe it out, clean the walls, so that you can easily wipe down the oven. You don't have to do a 4-hour cleaning cycle on this oven. In fact, probably once a week, depending on how often you use it, maybe once every other week, right? All you'll need to do, run some steam through the oven, wipe out that steam. If you need to take it a step further, you can use a very mildly abrasive cleanser, something like the Barkeeper's Friend or the Bon Ami, and a very mild sponge, and just wipe it out, scrub out the panels, right? Very easy to clean. And here's the other benefit of this oven versus every other oven, right? You can take the door off, right? So even if you're not the most vertically, gifted person, right? Like myself, right? I'm not very tall, so it's very difficult for me to clean this oven if the door is left on the front, but I easily remove the door, something again that we teach you in our ownership classes, so you're very comfortable with taking the door on and off the appliance. You take the door off, you can easily reach the back of the oven, all the internal racking that you get with the oven, all the trays, all the racks, right? Just like this, you have the 2 wire trays, right? These are going to come with your oven. These can go in the dishwasher. They're stainless steel, so you'll give up a little dishwasher space, but you can get them nice and clean. And then you've got 2 trays that come with your oven. You've got a solid tray, great for roasting, baking, whatever it might be. And then you've got a perforated tray, ideal for steaming your vegetables, your seafood, whatever you want to steam, you can use this perforated tray. So all of this comes with your oven easily. Everything can come out, go into the dishwasher, get beautifully clean while you're just doing a quick steaming process, and then you just wipe out the oven and it's spotlessly clean. Very easy to maintain, so you don't have to worry about like having to give up your oven for very, very long periods of time because you're running a cleaning cycle on it. So easy to maintain, easy to use. We train you. It has all of these benefits for you so that you will find, I will promise you this, an oven like this goes into your kitchen. Within 6 weeks, you will use this oven 80% of the time that you're cooking in an oven, right? You'll have to find excuses to use your larger oven because you're going to be doing everything in the CSO, right? What can't it do? Well, it won't heat up your coffee. It won't pop your microwave popcorn. And you can't broil anything in it because there's no broiler in it. But that's where the list ends. Everything else can happen in this oven. As we said, we can defrost, we can preserve, we can bake, we can roast, we can steam, we can poach, we can braise, we can do all of those things. We just can't broil, so you're going to need some kind of broiler. And if you need to reheat your microwave, you need a microwave to reheat your coffee or pop your popcorn, then I recommend you get a small microwave and stash it away somewhere so no one knows that you own one, right? And just keep it in the back because, quite frankly, this oven will do everything your microwave will do it better, do it faster, do it cleaner, right? And you can use it for so much more than a microwave. This is a true culinary tool, right? Not a convenience item, although it is very convenient, but it is not a convenience tool. It is a culinary tool. It is something that you can expand your repertoire of recipes and things you're going to try, whether it's sous vide cooking, whether you're just doing quick steaming vegetables for making a salad or some kind of vegetable saute or something like that. This is going to give you all of those advantages. So it really is a tool for people who love to cook, who really enjoy being in the kitchen. Yes, it will make things faster, but it's not necessarily just a pure convenience tool. It's not. It really is a culinary tool. So anyway, again, one of those things that you can, if you put it into your kitchen, you're going to use it. I guarantee it. It's not going to be sitting idle. You're not going to have long stretches where you don't use it. It doesn't heat up your kitchen the way a normal oven does. You're talking about an appliance that is there just always at the ready. Again, no preheating in 90% of the processes that you're going to perform in it. You don't even have to wait for it to preheat. You just go straight into a cold oven and the oven just we'll do all that cooking there for you. So again, remember that if you are interested in coming back and reviewing this video, that same link that got you here today, you can go back to that and see you know, a rebroadcast, if you will, of what we've done today. Again, if you need to reach out to any of us here at Roth, we're always available to you. So if you're interested in learning more, or if you've not had time to come into one of your local showrooms and see the convection steam oven live and in person, maybe get a one-on-one chat with the chef talking about how he or she uses it, I would recommend it. If you're in any one of those of our markets, please step into one of our showrooms and see it live. I mean, you can do this, and you can see all this food laid in front of me, and I can talk until the cows come home. But until you've actually seen it in action and been, right there and present when it's working, you really can't appreciate just how much an appliance this size can actually do and how it can change your experience in the kitchen. So we really, really appreciate everyone joining us today. You can certainly come back to the culinary scene here at Roth Living to see more videos, whether they're use and care or videos on our appliances, but also recipes, right? If you need some inspiration, right? Something about, a step-by-step process on maybe making these New York style bagels or the Korean style ribs. We've got recipe content that are there on our YouTube channel as well. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope everybody has a wonderful Tuesday afternoon.